So here's the backing foam, piece of wire, and what we'll do, we'll just start it. And as you can see, it really wants to collapse the foam. It's a little trickier, and you don't, it's definitely going to collapse it, so just be prepared for that. Now, why am I putting the wire on here? Because I want something for the epoxy to grab to, because I know it's not going to grab to this foam. And for this particular situation, I need to get some strength as far as, I want the epoxy to be able to grab hold of something. Pretty soon I'll show you how to splice your wire together, because you're going to, if you're doing a long piece, you're going to need to be able to do that. So let's say you got a piece. Make sure you got it sticking out a little bit where you can splice to it. Pretty simple. Just start your splice together like so. And then you got your tie wire pliers, but you can use regular pliers. I like these pliers for this because they work good for working the wire. And then you just continue on with your wrapping. Let's see, let's go ahead and go a little further. Okay, now we need to go back the other way. Straighten it out. This is where your pliers come in handy. Now, all you do is just wrap over that and bring it down. And there you got it. So if you have to splice it together, that's a good way to do it, and it actually even creates more strength. And then you just continue on, and you see the way I try to go in the middle of these two here, right there, that the space there, I'll go in the middle of it. This one, I'll go for the middle, and just go right to the end. Now, when you put your epoxy on this material and it hardens up, it doesn't matter about the ends being tied to anything, because they're not going to go anywhere. The key thing is to make sure you got those ends crimped down where you don't get poked with them. Like that, when they're sticking up, you really don't want that. So just take it, bend it down with your pliers. Now you can take that and shape it to anything you want. I mean, you could do all kinds of weird shapes with it before you put your epoxy on there. And you see, I mean, the rope one you can do, but not as good. You can't get quite, well, it's pretty good, but you can get, it's just, I guess this will just boil down to preference. And the epoxy will adhere to the rope. So it'll adhere to the rope, and it'll adhere to the wire. The epoxy here is only going to adhere to the wire, not to the foam. But there's enough wire on there, and that epoxy adheres to it, it's not going to go anywhere. So I can shape it to where it goes. I can put the epoxy on it and get it pretty much where I want, and then put it in place. So I don't have to have it on the ferry house to actually get the epoxy on there. So let me show you what I got in mind. Well, first, I just take them and place them to see about how they're going to work for me. And then I can come in with them not on here, put my coating epoxy on there, get it shaped pretty much what I want, create whatever details I want, and then just before it hardens up, I can either catch it then or wait till it does harden up, come in here, place them where I want, and just take some epoxy and put a little dab behind it, put it in place, a little dab here, put it in place, and you can actually drill it and put a finishing nail in here if you want to, or a screw, whatever you want, and then just put a little dab of epoxy over the top of it and paint it, and you're good to go. Here's something else I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do two of them. So let's say you got one here, and then I'll do one where it comes off of that, and got a little deal like this here. Well, anyway, so it'll maybe a little bit more. That way it'll give it a little bit more flair. And I'll do that on each one of these flowers. Now some of them, this will be down here, and some of them it'll be up here. So I'll make them kind of random. And that's the good thing about this here is you can kind of move it wherever you want. So, like so, like that. It'll just give it more of that fairy tale look that I'm after. And it'll tie it up together with the vines. Okay, so I hope you learned something from it. If you have any questions, let me know as far as materials I use. Maybe there was something that you got a question about that I didn't cover. Just ask me. I'll be more than happy to give you an answer. All right, so stay tuned. Let's see what I'm doing next week. Later.